Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining me. In continuation of our topic, exercise dominion. So today we're going to talk about a subtopic that says defied environment. Defied environment. So the dominion that God has given to you, you are going to face a certain kind of issues within your environment that will not allow you to exercise the dominion that God has given to you. And those environmental factors will like to rather define the kind of life that you live, to the extent that it determines the kind of success that you experience, right? But that is not the case. The authority that God has given to you is for you to dominate things around you. It then means you are the one that will create the influence, or you are the one that will determine to a large extent what happens to you in life. So you can't come to the point where you begin to say that it's because of the environmental issues that are limiting you. Why those things are true, there's an ultimate truth, which is that the capacity to influence environment does not lie within the environment. It lies with you that God has placed in that environment. That's the truth of the matter. So we see somebody like Esther, for instance, in Esther 4:16, where she had to defy the environment that she found herself, and he made a statement, if I perish, I perish. So the kind of situation that we're talking about are situations that you really need to take a bold step to be able to turn things around, right? It's not something that, a situation that you just need to find a way to manage. If you keep managing with it, it will keep defining you. The situation that Esther found herself, if she didn't take drastic decision or drastic action, her entire nation would have been in serious danger. There would have been an onslaught, right? So she needed to make some decision that would change that. So after praying, fasting for like 3 days, and she had to take a bold step to go and meet the king. And meeting the king uninvited means risking your life. And she had to do it. And he said, if I perish, I perish. Well, at the end of the day, she was able to get a good result. But she took that decision and she got it. I can tell you my personal experience. Years back, around 2003, 2004, while I was looking for a job, I did a lot of applications in those early age. And I wasn't getting invitation for interview. I wasn't getting any invitation. And it lingered for a while. So after I listened to a lot of messages, I come to a point that I asked myself, does it mean that if these employers, they don't invite me for interview, I'll become jobless? Does it mean that the authority for me to get a job lies with them? So if they decide that they cannot invite me or they don't want to invite me, I remain jobless. I said, no, that is not possible. That authority does not lie in their hands. It lies with me. It lies with God, who has given me the authority to excel. And I know my capacity, I know what I can do. I made a prayer and I said, from that day henceforth, I will not apply for job and I will not lack job. I made that statement and heaven heard that statement. I don't know how it happened, but it was registered in heaven. I took my CV and I went to a company. That company, I've been seeing that company, and I went to them and I said, what do I want? I told them that I want to see the MD. Eventually I saw the DMD and we spoke, we have conversation, and I told her that I'm seeing this company, I want to work here. She looked at my CV and everything. Incidentally, the head of technical unit was leaving. So it's just like I came at the right time and they were looking for the placement. So we had that conversation. I went for interview, test and everything, and I passed. And that's how I got my first offer. The second one, somebody called on the phone and he was making inquiries. And I was, explaining to the customer about the products and everything that we have, as we're trained to do. And I was doing that professionally. And the guy picked interest and decided to come to the office. I didn't know. He came to the office to put the face to the voice. And I continued to attend to him and everything. And when we were done with that, he left and called me and made an offer to me and doubled my salary. I started working with him in Victoria Land, and that's how we begin to do some other contracts that were meeting banks here and there and some other companies. And one day I received a call from a bank, that was a Sonic Bank in those days, and they said, am I interested in working with the bank, with them? I had to think about it and everything, and I gave them an answer. I came for test, came for interview, and I passed. That's how I started working with the bank. The last one I worked before I left the country, that was a Chinese company. In lockdown, I received a text message, 2020, that am I interested in working with, telling me about the offer. And I became interested in it. We went for interview and everything, series of interviews, and I passed. And I worked with them like 4 years. 4 years. So everything kept on moving like that, from one stage to another, without me having to apply. That statement that I made, somebody will say that you're mad. How can you be saying you will not apply for a job and you will not lack job? But that statement was not ordinary statement. It was made from a place of dominion, aligning with what God has said concerning my life. Because the reality was dawned on me that if I continue like this, I'll become jobless. But that is not the will of God for me to be jobless. It then means something has to be done. And I was given that utterance, and I made it, and I was energized to start making this, to make the first move. And other ones continue like that. Also, in the environment you find yourself in Nigeria, for instance, you face a lot of corruption during your business transaction. When I came to the point where I told myself, we complain about corruption in Nigeria, but in one way or the other in business, you see corruption face to face, where you have to settle somebody before the job is offered. And we try to look for ways to paint it, to make it look like if we're just oiling somebody's hand. But in another way around, we're actually enabling corruption. Why those things are obtainable? The thing is that as a Christian, we're not supposed to live that way. You can do appreciation after the job is done without any such pressure, out of your mind, if it is within the company policy for you to do that. If it's within the company's ethics for you to do that, you can do that. But not before. When you're doing that, it means you are enabling corruption. If you get to a place of government, the same thing is applicable there, where they begin to do inflation of contracts and everything. I told myself, I'm not going to do that. So I had a responsibility of managing an entire country for a Chinese company. And I took that decision. I said, look, I am not going to involve myself where any form of corruption to be able to get a contract as a sales manager. I won't do that. That statement, I made it, not an ordinary statement, but I defied the environment and told, this is Nigeria, but I will succeed without having to involve myself in corruption. And I did. Not only I succeeded, the sales, the volume was just increasing tremendously, right? It was increasing tremendously to the extent that sometimes the competitors or the people that are working with me, taking the same role that I was for other companies, will ask me, Williams, how am I doing it? How come I'm making such sales and pulling such sales? How am I doing it? Right? The only reason I can give is that God gave me a strategy, and I applied that strategy. It looks as if to say it's a mad strategy in an environment that is known for corruption. However, that strategy worked to the extent that customers will be calling me to give me contract, right? So it's not, a lot of times it's not much of reaching out to them, it's much of them coming to me, right? Because of the strategy of the spirits that God has given to me to be able to engage, to be able to be like a consultant to these people, to be able to see beyond just the regular business ideas, to see beyond corruption. And that strategy worked. So what am I saying? You can find yourself in a situation where the normal thing is not normal, right? But you can align with the Spirit of God to give you the strategy to break that. People may say that you are mad. People may say that it won't work. But with God, all things are possible. When you align fully with Him and know that the wisdom of God is much more than the wisdom of men or any other wisdom that are there that seem to be real but is fake. So there are so many things that confront people in different areas of their life. It can be education limitation, it can be business limitation, it can be marital limitation, it can be health limitations, different kind of things within the environment that try to limit you. But those things are not supposed to define you. They're not supposed to give you identity. Your identity lies in God and what He has said concerning you. So, may God give us the strength to be in position to defy our environment and achieve the kind of success that God wants us to achieve. God bless you. Bye.